So you are not looking at back. When
that touch, something is biting me. When that touch. Eh?
You're supposed to eat it.
When you come out to change this bed sheet, it's so dirty. Take. Where are you going to? Sadio, you haven't made this thing to talk. I want this thing.
What to talk?
The Zoom meeting to talk. It's not talking.
Does it mean that I will make it to Am the one doing Zoom meeting with you?
So how do I touch? Where will I touch? I can't see what they are saying.
Do you know what that is from their end?
Okay. Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management.
Are you their member?
Yes.
Which of the exam have you written?
You can't remember before I started attending the assignment. I'll soon go away. I will see my dad. When they're ready, they'll call up.
So whether are you wasting your data for next year, you are not here. If you pay for you go out and return them. Is that how to leave no meeting?
Good evening, everyone. Please, if you are joining the Zoom meeting, ensure to turn off your videos, please. If you are joining the meeting, kindly turn off your video as well as your microphone as also. Kindly turn off your video and your mic. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. If you are joining the meeting, if you're just joining the Zoom meeting, kindly turn off your microphone and your video. Kindly turn off your microphone and your video. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. If you are joining the meeting, if you're just joining the Zoom meeting, kindly turn off your microphone and your video. Kindly turn off your microphone and your video. Thank you very much. Hello, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, I will do that now. What's your name on the call so that I can? Okay.
I want to say a very good evening, distinguished professionals. Please, can anyone confirm if you all can hear me? Hello, good evening, distinguished professionals. Okay, on behalf of the Governing Council and the management of Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management, we want to welcome you to tonight's pre-induction training. We'll just go straight to the main program for tonight. But before I hand over to our facilitator for tonight, I just want to give a summary of her profile. She's the past president of the Nigerian Institute of Training and Development. She's also a doctoral fellow of the Institute. She has 34 years experience in training and development. Distinguished professionals, ladies and gentlemen, please join me tonight as we make welcome our facilitator for tonight and for tomorrow, Dr. Mrs. Ayuade Abike Igbiye. Welcome, ma. Over to you, ma.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Our beautiful coordinator, we thank you for always anchoring this. We are 112 on the beat. That is quite interesting. Welcome, and thank you for leaving everything this evening to be with us. You make the right decision. So I won't waste much of our time because time is limited till about 10. We may be able to get attend to one or two questions. If not, our questions will be taken till tomorrow morning and we'll be able to sort all of them out. Thank you for being part of the Institute. We appreciate you and we love you. You know that type of love, but not the other type of love. So you're welcome. And we are going straight into the presentation. And I'm going to share my slides. So kindly notify me if you can see my slide. Just indicate by the emojis that you have. Don't unmute so that we don't cause more commotion that people are listening. So if you can't see my slide, I'm going to on the slideshow now, and I'm sure you can see that first slide with the curtain being released or opened. So I think you can hear me loud and clear. If you cannot, please check your system and you'll be able to know whether the problem is from you or from our end. Yes, you can see me. Thank you so much, Eniola. Loud and clear, she says. Then Samsung Fold, she says you can see me. Everything is okay. Ogusha King says, favor says fine. So thank you very much. I appreciate all of that. So let's quickly go to what we are going to discuss this evening, and we'll be able to make sense of it. So what do you want to talk? Your attitude determines your leadership style. Everybody keeps talking about leadership and everything, and all it takes. You know, one thing about leadership is that topic, you can never finish talking about it. Never. It's something that we all will always talk about. People talk of this and that. How do you determine your leadership style? You know, one thing that I always tell people is that when you have that I no grief for them attitude, what type of leadership style do you think that person will have? That's your first question. Can somebody tell me what type of leadership style? And no grief for them type of leadership. You will tell me later, but just leave it for now. Let's quickly go into the presentation and we will look at the type of leadership style when you see the leadership matrix that we are going to talk about. So I've been introduced. Before I leave this page, you see me shaking the hands of the immediate past Vice President of Nigeria, Professor Oshibanjo. I will say that we see the people behind there, they've stepped up in life. And so I want to send this prayer across that catch it, catch the anointing. It may not be Professor Oshibanjo, but it could be somebody higher. So, and this is the first step that you are getting by joining this institute, by being members of the institute, by also paying for what you are going to get. one of our friends always say that it's not only by certificate, but by the experience that you are going to take away from here and that you are going to deploy to your people out there. So catch the anointing because you are going higher after now. So your attitude determines your leadership style. Let's unpack the agenda. That is what we are going to do. What are we going to talk about today? So we are going to examine organizational culture, which affects everything, anything that we do in the organization. Then we'll also talk about defining leadership style, then understanding what we call the corporate bones, then the ability to serve. Leadership is the ability to serve. Attitude defined, the role of attitude in leadership, then leadership competence matrix. Where are you in that matrix? So then the strategies for developing positive leadership attitude, then what we have as the takeaway, we'll discuss if we have the time to do that. If not, tomorrow we'll be able to bring to bear some of the things that we are learning today. Okay, so the introduction is the importance of leadership in Nigeria corporate setting. People call it governance, good governance, whatever. But within the corporate setting, what do we do? The influence of leadership in corporate culture, the impact of employee engagement and productivity, what leadership has to do with that, the role in navigating local and global challenges based on what we know about corporate leadership in Nigeria. How can we determine the culture of an organization? There are different ways in which we can do that because once you have a culture, people that come in newly or those who are already there will fall in line. Because one thing about culture is that the first thing is about what by the first reflection, which is the noblest, that is you should be noble in whatever you get. Reflection in whatever you get. Secondly, you imitate what you get within the system and you know. Then the third one is the experience which you have to carry along. Is it sweet or bitter that you need the people around you to learn and know about? Culture is very important for every organization. So, what is the definition of corporate culture or organizational culture? Please, I want to bring to our notice that type whatever question you have into the chat box. We will attend to them as we move on. And please be rest assured that all answers are correct, all questions are correct. There is no nonsense question, there is no nonsense answer. So please feel free to type any question in there because in adult class, I always say, Baba no dey fail, all answers are correct, but one may be the correct or maybe the correct answer. All answers are correct. So let's quickly look at this. So what is organizational or corporate culture? It has been defined in several ways. It's a system of informal roles, the norms and values and things that we believe in, the way we behave in one place. One thing is that culture from one organization to the other, they differ. So what do we need to do? We need to manage the organization where we find ourselves, live within the culture, and you see that everything will work well for us. So it is a collective programming of the mind. In most cases, it's always said that culture is never written down. It's something is informal. You just find yourself that I need to fall in line. It is not that I know too much more than the culture of an organization governs it. That's why we're able to say that the public sector culture is different from the private sector culture. But for whatever it is, whatever you're doing, know that we need to be productive. We need to add value to the system wherever we find ourselves, whether in the public sector or in the private sector. So culture is like a web. Once you find yourself in there, you will be like a spider. You'll be like maybe an insect that is caught within the spider web because the culture is like a web. And once you find yourself in there, you need to find your way around the web. So what do you need to know? You need to be inside of it to be able to feel it, to smell it, to touch it and hear it and make sense of it. That why are these people behaving like this? It's not like the way that I understand that we culture to be, but wherever you find yourself, that is why it's always said that when you are in Rome, be like the Romans. one man's meat is another man's poison. So the culture of one place, wherever you find yourself, please find yourself in that culture, understand it, because it's a system of shared meaning that everybody holds there. And we are now distinguish ourselves from other organizations that are around us, even when we be in the same business, okay? But different ways of behaving, because we are going to break down what culture is all about. So a poor culture can lead to staff disengagement and customer satisfaction. Staff disengagement, when staff now feel that this is not the place for me. What's a fine girl like me doing in a place like this? I need to get out. That is why some of this, our new generation workers or employees feel that the Gen Zs, the Gen X, the millennial and the alpha generation, they are all those. Why am I in this place? Some of them just feel they feel unbugged. Some of them want to work from home, maybe or go to the office twice a week or once a week. Some want to even be remote completely. But is it possible? Is it possible? And how do we now get to know what our culture is if everybody works from home? I'm an advocate for the way, an advocate of how people can work and be productive within the system, whether it is from remote or it is in person. So, but we need to know that it takes months or years to know how organizations behave and what their culture is all about. So now let's take a look at what culture is all about. Culture is such that is the center of everything. So look at this, what we have here. You see the dress code, the language, okay, the goals, the attitude, and everything. So inside of culture, you see that attitude is also part of it. And that is why we're talking about attitude and leadership traits, because all this revolve around the leadership of an organization, whether public or private. As I said before, look at policies, look at rules, look at thoughts, look at behavior. There are more to culture than what we have just seen, but let's just look at it from this perspective. So let's now look at, after you got yourself into the organization, you are well seated, you're ready to buy into what the organization has to offer and what you bring to the table, as we always say. So let's look at it that somewhere along the line, you find yourself leading a team. You as the leader of the team, even at times as followers, we need to emulate. We need to see what the leader is doing for us to say that this is a good culture. This is a culture that is endearing. This is a culture that will get people to be engaged in whatever they are doing, and this will lead to what? Encouragement and retention of employees. So let's look at the leader's way of doing things. Let's look at what is it that our leaders should do. They should lead based on that title, leader lead, like what you used to have in the area of MAMSA. If you're a director, direct well. So if you're a leader, lead well. If you're a teacher, teach well. That's what we learned in those days, not national orientation. It used to be called MAMSA. So I think Professor Ghana was the advocate of that then. So one thing that we need to do is that leaders should lead. Not only lead, we should also share the vision of the organization and empower others to act in tune with what the organization stands for. Then we also improve what we meet on ground. So when people ask you as a leader, what have you done? Would you be proud to say that I'm leaving this organization or I've improved over time? If you give yourself that time frame, what have you done? So you should be able to look for the areas of change, look for opportunities, and take what we call calculated risks. Not risk that will bring down the organization, calculated one that will improve the system. Then we also be able to inspire relationship that are trustworthy and recognize contribution of others, and we'll be able to get there. As HR, one thing that we should do, because we are part of the boardroom, we are part of those that makes things happen. When the policies are drawn or booked in the boardroom, the HR brings them to the employees, bring them to the workforce for us to be able to execute. So this is part of it. And you can't just come and execute if you don't inspire. You need to inspire change. You need to inspire relationship within the workforce. So let's look at the levels of leadership and and expectation. If you see this diagram, if you are looking at it very well, you see at the base of the pyramid is where we have the employees, because nowadays, even if we talk that bottom up approach to management, management is still top to bottom. They can listen to you as employee from at the bottom that we have a lot of challenges as employees. How do we manage the system? How do we manage people within that system? As employees, we are there, okay, at the bottom of the ladder or of the pyramid. The next level is what? The supervisory level. Some of us, our organizations still run what we call personnel management. Personnel management or personnel department and whatever. But personnel is still under the big umbrella of HR. So we need to manage everybody. So when you are in personnel or whatever, or wherever you find yourself within the team, you find yourself as supervisory, because supervisory level and management level, they are the middle managers. So we need to be able to carry others along. So as supervisor, when the policies come, we manage the execution, and that is what empowerment of the people directly below us. Then the next one is the management. They set objectives, they set job descriptions and whatever those people down will do. So they need to manage performance of everybody, of the workforce. Maybe some of us as HR, we are within performance management level, or they are part of management. Then the executive are the ones that develop strategy. They look at where are we going, how do we get there, what do we need to do. So strategy has a lot of things in place. So, and part of what I always advise is that strategy is such that you cannot say I'm strategic if you don't know what your people want. How do you get them to be there? How do we get the organization to be at par or even beyond those that are in the same business with us? So then the CEO who sets direction, or those who are there. So from management to the CEO, these are the people in the boardroom. They manage the policies of the organization. So that is why I say when you manage the business, you will live the value, you share the vision, and make others to be successful. It's not only you, because life is not about you. Workforce, the workplace is not about you alone. So we need to manage that. So let's move on. Let's look at the leadership styles matrix. Okay, most people always remember the democratic leader, visionary, transactional, transformational, and all of that. So you see, one size does not fit all. That is what modern management has taught us. If not say, oh, I want to be a servant leader, will you be able to manage the situation when you now find, so at that point you now say, oh, I'm now a situational leader. So where are you in all of this? So, what is leadership style? Leadership style is an approach or a behavior that, as a leader, it helps you to guide, to motivate, and manage your team, manage the people so that they'll be able to manage the job. It's up to you to be able to do this. So, it's a quality that individuals carry along, and they'll be able to manage the system and manage the people. So, it's very important that as a leader, you inspire, you influence, you motivate. It's not about you. So look at this leadership styles matrix on the right hand side of our screen, and you see how many of them, which one of them. If you do a self-analysis and you do a rethink, do have an insight into who you are and how you manage people. Look at it. Visionary, transactional, transformational, servant, autocratic, democratic, laissez-faire. This laissez-faire, I always have issues with it. Why do I have issues with laissez-faire? Because I feel that there is no manager that will ever say that it's laissez-faire. Maybe in those days when they were talking about the leadership styles, and they now discover that some managers will just sit and relax and have their hand at the back of their mind. Oh, can I have tea and all those? I think the world has evolved. Management has evolved more than laissez-faire. I don't know whether if maybe one day I write something and I feel that laissez-faire should be removed from the type of leadership style that we have, because I don't think any manager will come to the office and sit and say, go on, do this and do that. The followers will look at him, okay, speak, your servants are listening. No, nobody. You find yourself doing some things. So anyway, wherever you find yourself, John Quincy Adams says, if your action inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. Because it's not about you. It's not about you. So it's about those people that you are inspiring, influencing to get the job done for the benefit of the organization. Let's look at the right-hand side again. You see so many names in there. This leadership style of top CEO. I'm sure one or two names will ring a bell in what do we call what's the name, the president of the US now, Donald Trump. Some of us, that's one of the guys we love to hate, but we can't. So what you see, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, everybody knows about that, Elon Musk. So it is there. So some of these people you see, maybe eventually when you get to see who they are, you see the type of leadership that is very prominent in what they do and how they go about it. Okay, but one thing that we have realized over time is that you cannot stick to one style of leadership. Okay, if not, you will create on the left hand side what we have, toxic culture within the system. If you stick to one, you will not be able to manage it, because one size does not fit all. One day you see yourself, when you snap, you say, okay, it's not like that. Why is it? So we need to look at it that what leadership style will prevent me from having a toxic or developing a toxic culture or developing something that people will say, I am toxic. Because the new generation of workers or employees that we have the silent generation or the veterans, they are out. Two, we have the baby boomers. Most of them are fizzling out already. Who are we left with? 4 generations. We have Generation X, we have Generation Z, we have the millennia, we have the Alpha generation. They are all there. The baby boomers are going. So what do we need to do? We need to look at it. These people, they are on the move. If your communication is not good, if you lack work balance, if they just look at you and say, that is why so many research works that have been done, they say that this new generation of employees that we have, they don't stay more than 5 years in a workplace. Some 2 years. So what they do is that within 5 years, they've moved 2 or 3 times. And I've asked them, I said, come. There's always said that rolling stone gather no more. They say, leave me. Insofar I'm still rolling, at least I'm not stagnant. So they look at the economy, they look at the organization. That is why some of them prefer to work in what the modern management calls the gig economy, that they contract. They don't want to stay with you forever. They have one permanent job, they have 2 contract jobs here and there. They're making money. Okay, some of them will not even go, they just start off and they say they don't want to work for anybody. So they don't want anybody to micromanage them. So when you look at these 10 traits, you see that some of us are guilty. So how can we purge ourselves of this? So purging yourself of this will be, you'll be able to be a catalyst leader. Is it possible to follow all these 10 or more? Is it possible? If it is not, you need to now be conscious. What are those things that will make me not to be able to perform as a leader? Remember, we're talking about HR. If there's any issue in the organization, whether the workers are picketing or people are talking about this, they say, go to HR, go to HR, go to HR. So you need to be conscious of those things that you are lacking. That is what we call the conscious incompetence. I know I don't have it. So what do you do? What do? You go look for it. Okay? You go look for it to go and to make it better. But somebody that is unconscious of that he lacks something, he will not be aware of it and he will not be able to go. Unconscious incompetence. And when people draw it out, they say, is it me that you're talking? Do you know I'm HR? But you don't know it all. So what you need to do, we want to go to that level where we have conscious competence to be able to know that on the go, you are there. Okay? On the go, you are giving solutions to the problems that your workforce or not your employees now, the workforce is going through. So, but you should not go and fall into this unconscious incompetence. That means you have some things that you don't know you can deploy to assist you. You have the competence to do the thing, but you don't know. So we bring it out. It's up to you to be able to bring it out by yourself, maybe at times, by altering your state of mind, your attitude. So that is why William James says, the greatest discovery of my generation is that people can alter their lives, alter their leadership style. I'm putting that by altering their attitude of mind. That is why people could talk about mindset. Your mindset will make you to decipher, am I unconscious? Do I have unconscious incompetence? Unconscious, I'm incompetent, but I'm unconscious of it. I'm competent and I know about it. That is conscious competence. And you can use that. Conscious incompetence, that means you are conscious, you don't have the competence to do the thing. The first one is you are unconscious and you don't have the competence. The second one is conscious incompetence. Yeah, I'm aware I lack some skills. What do I need to do? And you go look for it. Whereas the next one is conscious competence. I know that I have it. I can give it out. Okay, competence. The unconscious competence, I have it, but I didn't know that realize that you have it. So you need to look at this as HR. What can you bring to the table to make the workforce be better? So that is why on our leadership scale, we need to look at it. We need to serve. So let's quickly look at some questions that the presentation slides will be shared after the Zoom. Let's look at it. So everybody's asking for soft copy. Yes, yeah, it will be. So that's all that you have there. Okay. Okay. So there are no questions on except that you want to have the presentation. Yes, it will be shared. The office will share that. Okay. Okay. So there are no questions there. So that when you have been able to decipher those four, you now see that what do I want to do? Part of my conscious competence is that I need to serve. Not the servant leadership but whether it's servant leadership, whether it's autocratic, whether it's transformational, I need to do what? Serve. So serve has now become an acronym for what is your style of leadership? What substance are you being? Are you making people to be satisfied in what they are doing? Are you empathizing with them? Are you resourceful, initiative? You have initiative or you go the extra mile? Out the call of duty. What value are you bringing? Are you efficient on your job? So that when people now ask, what have you done? You now say, I've been able to do this. So what do you do? In all of this inability to serve, you need to give direction. Okay. So because success is not about growing yourself. So success is all about your growing others after you are conscious of your competence, the value that you are going to add to them, so that they will be efficient on the job as well as for you. Because when they do well, when the chips are down, it is you that will get the accolade. And when the chips are down on the other side, it's also you that will say, I think we need to look for another HR because you are not delivering value. So success is all about what? Growing others. So let's look at if there are questions on the slide. As a leader, how do you deal with toxic environment? Okay, toxic environment. Keep that. We will come back to you. Very interesting. Okay, yes, you get the soft later. How do we deal with toxic environment as a leader? You should be able to point the way. Unless you have another level of leadership that is above yours, like HR, that is under the management or in the policy decision of the organization, you will be able to influence within the system, unless you are in what we call one-man business. A one-man business will look at it and say, I started this business for my family, but it's grown out of what I expected and it's gone bigger. So some of them hold on to power, to the reign of power and authority. You cannot even engage a cleaner. You need to have recourse to them. They want to fill the whole place with their own family and clan or whatever. So what you need to do in that situation is keep making them understand that life is not just about a cocoon of others. Okay, a toxic boss. If you want to manage a toxic boss, but let's finish with that. A toxic environment. Make the environment. Talk to the people that are in charge, who are ahead of you, who can influence things. That is why I always tell. It also answer that question of someone that says, "How do I manage a toxic boss?" I always say that in organization, please play the politics, what we call office politics. It doesn't mean that you are bad. It's not the type of politics that we have in APC, PDP, and all the stuff. It's the politics of the office. And I always say that one thing we should do is what? Ride the tiger. But don't end up in the belly of the tiger. Ride the tiger, but don't end up in the belly of the tiger. What that means is that not that you will bootlick anybody, but you will say what you have to say diplomatically. Okay? So that you do not end up being enemies in quote of some people and friends to some others. Weigh the pros and cons. Be strategic in your decision. What do you mean by being strategic? Use the 6 W's and H. What am I going to gain from this? Whose leg or whose toes am I going to step on? How do I manage the situation? So when somebody is saying, how do I manage a toxic boss? As HR, what we need to do is there are programs that we call managing your boss. You need to study your boss very well. You need to be able to know the day he woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I don't know whether there is, or the day he woke up on the right side of the bed. So it's up to you that you need to be able to manage the office politics and you'll be better off for it. Don't say, no. I'm not going to get involved in office politics. You are in there, my brother. You are in there. So you need to manage the politics, but don't end up in the belly of the tiger. The tiger is the politics. So my question is that what is the difference between fellow member and full fellow? Please, you send this message to the institute and they will give you. But in trying to do what is right by implementing that policy, you will make enemies. Of course, it's not everybody that will like you. It's not everybody. It's not possible. Of course, you step on some toes, but you know when to retreat. You know when to be able to do that which is right. So please don't say that, oh, you don't want to make enemies. Once you're alive, you will make enemies. Even within your family system, you make enemies. So don't think that I'll be Mr. Good. There'll be days when things will fall apart and you take your stand. So please remember this. Remember that fight the tiger, but don't end up in the belly of the tiger. That is how to play the office politics. So it is not out of the benevolence of the butcher that we get meat, but in serving his interest, it serves our own. So you need to know that when the butcher goes to the to hunt and he got his spoil and whatever and he brings it home, he can't finish it alone. He needs to be able to either he sells or he shares amongst his kindred. So we need to know that as you are serving other people's interests, your own interest is also being served. So we need to look at it. To say how can we play office politics without bootlicking? Of course you can. Of course you can. You bootlick when you have nothing when you have nothing to offer. When you have nothing to offer, that is when you bootlick, so that they will not see your incompetence. But when you know what you have your worth of soul, honestly, I don't want to say some things because I told you where I worked before. Honestly, at a point in time, I was told for 7 years, no promotion, nothing. What did I do? I started, it wasn't divided interest, or yes, it wasn't divided interest. People from other organizations started calling me to come and facilitate those days when I was yeah, somebody said, Daramola said, HR and office politics is 5 and 6. You can't run away from it. Thank you, Daramola. Okay, so let me now look at it that, okay, when and they now heard that organizations were calling me to come and facilitate, though I got permission from my immediate, my direct report to say that, okay, or my line manager that I was going out to do and do. What I was doing was like promoting my organization. So at one point in time, one of the management meant that our path crossed. And she now said, Mrs. Igbeyi, the way we are looking at you and that you are shining out there, if we don't take care of you, they will take you away. I said, no, ma, we are still here. It is this organization that is propelling me to do well out there. It is what you sowed in me that I'm showing the world. Did I bootlick? No. But they now started being afraid that if they don't do something, I'll find my way out. So it's very, can you say a little about eye service? We won't go to that now. But what we are talking about is that, please, if you know your worth, they will be the one to come and they will put you in every committee that is available within the organization, because they will say you have so much up there. Not that you now become arrogant, but you know that when you are not in certain committees, they will know your worth. They will know that, oh, if this person were to be here, we will have. Then some other people will now be jealous that, is he the only person that is there? It's not that you are leaking anybody's butt, but you have what it takes to add value. So play it well. Let them know. And at a point in time, you know what I did? I went on self-sponsorship to programs outside of Nigeria. Then when Naira was still good, I could fund myself, I could sponsor myself to go to those places. And I know some of us here now, we are self-sponsoring this program, this certification that we want to get. So it's very important that you need to bring your worth, improve your lot, and that is what we call continuous and never-ending improvement. Improve your lot, and you will see that you will be well sought after, because as you are improving yourself, okay, but by serving your interest, you're serving the interest of the organization because you are bringing value to them. Okay. For someone that wants me to talk about the difference between fellow and doctoral and all those things, please talk to them in the office. They will give you that, so that we don't derail from what you are talking about now. So now let's talk about corporate bonds, HR. This involves us very well. What do you mean by corporate bonds? There are 4 bonds in the corporate setting. The first one is what we call the wishbone. HR, look at this. HR. Wishbone are the operatives that do the actual job. You remember that triangle that we have, the lower run of the base of the triangle. Bottom there, employees, wishbone are the operatives that do the actual work in quantifiable terms. Okay, they're the ones that say, oh, we need to have produced like 20 bags of cement, but we have not done that. These are the people that we labor to ensure that we produce that 20 bags. Quantifiable terms. They are generally in the junior cadre, but very crucial to the success or the otherwise of organization. When they down tools, the shop floor is at a standstill. because they are the ones that know where the screws, the nuts, and now to throw spanner in the wheel of progress, and the whole place grinds to a halt. So managers must recognize their contribution at all times. They are often referred to as the low but mighty, the wishbone. We are not there, but we work with them as HR. 2, the jawbone are equally very important in organization as they form the supervisory cadre. You see how we are going up that triangle that we saw earlier. Equally important because they are supervisors, supervisory cadre. Then they are the supervisors, foremen, middle level managers. They take instruction from the knuckle bones, which are the next set of people, and give directives to the wishbone. Okay, those who we do, they are the shop floor managers. They serve as go between and assess the work of the operatives. The next one is what they call the knuckle bones. Okay, knuckle. They drive people. They see to the day-to-day running of the business. They form the senior and executive management of the organization. Chief executive officer, managing director are part of the knuckle bones. They call the shots and make things happen within the organization. They're drivers of the business. When those people bring their money and do whatever within the system, within the boardroom, they go back and say, this must be done. The business must not die. So what do? We listen to them. They are the CEO, they're the managing director, but they have the board over them. They have those board, board of directors, board chairman, and all those things. And those are what we call the backbone of the business. They're the owners, they're the managers, the owner, president, sponsor, they're the financiers of the business. HR. We need to be able to manage all these bones in the system. If not, the bone, once you have back pain, then the business is going down. There'll be no money to fund the system. When the knuckle bone is not there, those who are making us to do the work are not there. So we need to manage them. And how do you manage them if you don't have proper, the right attitude to ensure that the organization survives? So we need to look at attitude. It's not only by calling us HR manager and all those things that we get the job done. We need to look at what is it? What do we understand by attitude? So attitude is defined as a persistent tendency to think, what I'm doing, is it right? How do I feel? Am I happy with what I'm doing? Are people happy with what they are doing? Because it will reflect in their behavior to the organization and how we behave towards them. So we think, we feel, and we behave in a particular way towards our employees in the workplace, and see what do they do, or those people that we supervise. So we need to be ready to be able to manage our attitude. And how do you manage your attitude? We are going to get to that later. So how do we understand what attitude is? Attitude is a settled way of thinking, feeling about someone or something. So, and is divided into two. There's no midway to it. It's either positive or negative. And it's the negative attitude that gives us the toxic workplace. So we need to look at it that this positive and negative attitude impact on our leadership. So how attitude shapes our decision-making process, our communication, and conflict resolution, because these are some of the things that we work with in the workplace as managers or as leaders. Decision making, you have to be on it. Critical thinking and all those things, because they will affect our decision making. Communication, how do you say it to them? How do they listen? Do you bring Z before A, or you bring M before this? So you need to know how to plug in your communication and see. And that is why in modern management, we said there are 4 ways in which you can communicate: writing, reading, speaking, and understanding. Okay, writing, reading, speaking, and understanding. You now say, where is listening? Listening is an offshoot of speaking. There has to be a sound, there has to be somebody talking before you say listen. So listening is a skill, but it's an offshoot of speaking. So you need to be able to manage that. If you don't manage those 4, you will see that people will not be able to. Somebody says people will not be able to manage what you want them to do. Somebody says office politics breed Okay, strategic level, tactical level, operational level. Yes, please. Then someone says office politics breed office contentions, jealousy, gossips, selling out, and in most cases lead to nepotism. These are toxic situations, and these are not the ways in which I want us that by the time we leave here, some of these things that you listed here, we will have dropped them. You will look at people from different perspective. Because if you look at office politics and say, oh, it's because they are jealous of me. People will always be jealous of you. People will always gossip about you. Because once you are alive, people, even those who are dead, they will see gossip, they will say talk about them. Okay. It's not about selling out. People will always sell out if they don't trust you. So what do you do as HR? These are things that you have mentioned, but you need to manage these things. How do you manage them? Is what we're talking about here. It is about your attitude. It's about your attitude that will drop people being contentious about you, being jealous of you. Instead, they will look at you and say, it's that thing that you are doing. I say, well, I want it to be. I want to be like you. Okay. The gossip that they gossip behind you, somebody, those people that know how to play the police, they say, okay, honestly, I like the way you do this one. So it's not in all cases that you put all of this, they are negative attitude. And once you have this, you will not be able to move on with people. So can bootlicking mean you are acting unprofessionally? Bootlicking, depending, as I said, if you know your worth, you will not bootlick. If you look at those who are bootlicking, they have nothing to offer. They are the one that will say good morning. That's not good morning, like you should not greet people. I don't know how to put bootlick, but for whatever it is, for whatever you have talked about bootlicking, please, it gives room for the negative, the toxic environment toxic environment that we talk about in organization. Because when you bootlick and the person gets on, and I will say, have they killed him? At least he's a gas person. Like what you do, what Obe say that Omo Ogani, that is Omo Oga is the favorite of Oga. So that is the person does not have anything to do but to go and look for who is doing what. That is not part what you were engaged to do. When you were employed, were you asked to be that you be the spy among the HR, among the employees? As HR, it is tiring when you recruit and in no time they leave the system. Of course. How can you reduce staff exits in an organization? Depends on your organizational policy on talent retention. And we're going to get to some of this. Yes, I know. Like the drivers and the clerical officers and ministry, you look down on them at your own peril. Thank you so much, Daramola. Okay. I say, Chara, are you for the company or for the workforce? You are for both. Okay, because when you face management, you are back in the workforce. When the management sends you to workforce, you are back in management. It's not that you are working against them, but you are using the policy to be able to put things right at each side of the way. Because if you say, are you for them, then you will not be able to look at the staff welfare book or staff handbook to say, oh, this thing is outdated. We need to step up. Are you working against management? No. And when management sends you to them, are you now saying, oh, this is what management, so let's revolt against them? No, you can't. It's not that way. So we will look at I must comment this the question. Can a leader attitude shift over time? Oh, sure. And does not impact the leadership effectiveness? Sure. How do your leadership style can shift over time? Even if you find yourself in a good environment, then eventually you move to a toxic environment, you will change your style. You change your style to be able to work well within that toxic environment, unless you want to leave the job. How do you differentiate between leaders' personality and their attitude? Yeah, it depends on the leader to show his own personality and his attitude, because your personality will be beamed through your attitude. Okay, you'll be beamed through your attitude. Like I mentioned earlier when we started, I said if you have a personality that no grief for them, that is your personality. Nigeria know they carry last now. So anywhere you get to, what attitude would you show? That's why they're afraid of us in Africa. They're afraid of us in West Africa. I traveled to East Africa sometime, Uganda to be precise. Immediately we got to the marketplace. 3 of us went to represent my government agency. Then immediately we did not even say that, nothing. The way we were dressed, normal, this whatever, not so flamboyant. Immediately we got to the market, we were just about to price something. One of them, I said, "Oh, you people are from West Africa?" He said, "Yes." I said, Nigeria to be precise. We were not speaking Yoruba, we were not speaking Igbo. You just said Nigeria to be precise. Okay. So when your personality is such that no grief for them, the people that we even went to train in Uganda, then they said, "It's you people in Nigeria, you can do that. But in Uganda, we cannot do that." Okay. It is in us. Nigeria know they carry last. Worry know they carry last. That's our personality. It will now be radiated through our attitude, because immediately you get to one place, they can't chance me here. So what will you do? Okay, what would you do? Okay, our charisma stands out. Okay, Niger, no wahala. Yes. So that is your personality. Your personality will be there. Okay, then it will be radiated through your attitude. Do you think a lower cadre employee feedback on leaders' attitude affect relationship? That is why some organization we talk about 360 degree. It's not only you as talking about performance management for those who are under you, but they also say that those who are outside and those who are within your fold will also will also assess you. Okay, they will also assess you. So it's very important that the relationship, it matters a lot. I'm in Uganda right now. They know, they know what, So let me see what you're talking about. They know our confidence and they say we are tough. We are tough. So you see, thank you, Dr. Emmanuel. That is it. Even when you go to Ghana, they are still, Nigeria will always stand out. It's our person. It's in us. It's in us. And they believe that. So thank you for making sure that I wasn't lying when I gave that example. Yeah. So if a boss often brings tough decision, we talk about this decision making later. Let's quickly go to when your decision making, communication, and conflict resolution is right in place. What you do is that look at these 4 steps that we have. The key success to decision making is as much as timing as well as the choice that you make. The wrong decision at the wrong time will result into disaster. The wrong decision at the right time, people say, "Oh, it was just the result, the time is okay," but it's a wrong decision. So they will see it as a mistake. The right decision at the wrong time is unacceptable. That means you know what to do. But why did you bring in at this wrong time? The timing is not acceptable. The right decision at the right time will lead to success. So we need to manage this, because everybody wants to end up on the shore of being successful. So positive attitude in leadership will give us what? Optimism, open-mindedness, resilience. That never die spirit. Even if anything happens, I will still make it. If I fall one time, I will stand up 2 times. People will always say. So what are the benefits of positive attitude in leadership? Fostering a motivating work environment, enhancing problem-solving capabilities that never say die. When it's always said that inside of a problem lies the solution. So you look at it very well, strategically. How do I break into this? How do I manage this? When I was growing up, I went to school, the school that they call Awolowo School, not the Ace or Apple or where they teach them phonics now. In those days, we had the nursery rhyme, not nursery rhyme. We had a poem that if you want to solve a problem, you go around it, you go above it, so that it will not whelm you. If you go under it, you'll be you'll be subdued by the problem itself. But children of nowadays, the Gen Zs and the Gen X and the Alpha, they say break through the problem, because inside the problem lies the solution. So not on top, not at the bottom, not around it, because that was the nursery rhyme they told us then. But you need to be able to break inside it, and you see where the solution lies, and that is when you make that decision that will arrive at the win-win that we have on the right hand side of this. So what we now talk of benefit for leaders, you should be able to build trust and respect among your team members. and you'll be able to get there. So let's quickly have this this small, it's not a case study, but it's just to tantalize our taste bud for getting to know some of those great leaders that went before, that are some that are still with us. So out of these 4 pictures that you have on the right hand side of the screen, how many of them can you identify? Type in your put in your chat box the woman, the man in glasses up, not the one in sunshade, the one in sunshade and the one down beside Dora Akoyili. Your time starts now. Let's quickly see. Your time starts now. Okay, let me put it, sorry. Let's see. How many of them can you identify? How many? Let me see if some of us can get. Dora Akoyili, thank you. My Tama Sule, fantastic. Okay. Okay, Dora Akoyili, yes. Yes, Maitama Sule Kano, no. Not remove the Kano. Maitama Sule, yes, but remove the Kano. Maitama Yusuf, okay. Sule Yusuf, Dora Akoyili, Who says Akunyele? Are you Yoruba? You've turned that name to something else. Maitama Sule Yusuf. Kamale Lonosode, thank you. Yes, these were people of repute. They are leaders. You can remember the Baba in cream that has a black hat and yellow, a black, is that not hat? What do you call it now? Cap. Cap that's smiling on the right hand side with the yellow on black. There are only two. Gamaliel, somebody has mentioned Gamaliel. Only two. You don't remember this man at the bottom right? Bottom right. Okay, you don't know. Okay, that is Michael. Who wants to finish it? Omolayole. He's still alive. He'll be 94, 95 this year. But the others had blessed memory. They made impact. They left footprints in the sign of time. So let's look at them and see what legacy did they leave? Positive corporate leadership. They all led corporate office. Maitama Yusuf was our representative in United Nations. Kamale Elon also they led the board of I think Dunlop then. Akunyili, all of us know. He made NAFTAC to be known. Baba Molayole, good corporate boardroom guru of Unilever of those days. So it's very important that what are those things? Was it Guinness? Okay. I said Guinness all that time. Somebody said, whether it's me that said Guinness or somebody. But anyway, he led the board of Guinness a long time ago. 3 of them are of blessed memory, while Baba Omolayole is still around. So their positive attitude contributed a lot to the success of those organizations. So let's look at negative attitude in corporate setting. If it will produce what? Toxic environment, pessimism. We cannot work. If anything you put, they will say they will be ready to resist change because they feel that such things will not work. They don't have empathy for those. How are people feeling? This time that government said they should pay 70,000 naira per month minimum wage. Where are we going to get it? What do we do? How do we go? Some are still, even when they said they should pay 30, so people were paying 18. Even the 18 was not even constant. And we all go to the same market. So it's very important that we look at this. Then what are the consequences for leaders? Toxic work environment, high employee turnover. No matter what you do, people just want to jackpot from your organization. Reduce productivity and innovation, because some people will come and say, Oga sell, Oga does not sell. Conductor's money must to complete. Okay? So 30 days make a pay. At least I'll come. This set of people are the people that we call them not absentee workers. They are what we call presenteeism. They are there, but they are not contributing. They will come, they will mark, register, they will do what they are supposed to do in terms of marking, but they will put in so minimal that you know that they are not, they're the opposite of absentee workers, because they say when you are not there, they will not pay you or whatever. But for whatever it is, they are what you call presenteeism. So some of the countries around the world of an ineffective leader. Can we quickly go to that and let's see how many can you talk about? Nigeria is not part of it, so don't mention Nigeria. I don't want to hear Nigeria. So can we quickly type the first 5 I will take? After that, we'll go to the slide. Now, I told you, Dr. Emmanuel, I said don't put Nigeria. Don't put Nigeria. God bless Nigeria. Put another country. Ineffective leader. I don't want DRC. Yes, I'll take that. One more. Ife, thank you for that. Ishania, thank you. Cameroon. But you know that person that has been making waves all over the place now. What's his name now? Traore, Ibrahim Traore. So Iran. Okay, so we will leave it at that based on nobody mentioned North Korea. Nobody. Zimbabwe, Indians. I said don't mention Nigeria. USA. Emily, don't apply you. Don't apply for US visa. Korea. Which of the Koreas? North or South? North Korea. Okay, we go move on. So we see that some of these people, what are they? They are not even thinking of their citizen. But we are now talking about corporate governance. How well are we doing that? Because it's easy to mention those who are not doing well, and you now look at yourself, how well have you been impacting your own organization? So we need to ask this question. Your attitude, is it making waves or ripples? So that just occasionally when water drops into that, a drop of water drops into a bowl or a river, the ripple effect will just be there. Just a drop in the ocean, okay? Or is it making waves? Like before you know it, not tsunami now, but everybody knows. So what are your attitudes? Is it making waves and taking other people along or drowning them? Or you just say, occasionally when I drop a good attitude, it affects the organization or your department or you. So it shows how people are looking at you. Are you making waves? Are you making ripples? So it's up to you as leaders, HR, to be able to manage that. So let's look at this. Those who know the Holy Book very well, there's what we call the Beatitudes. The Beatitudes. Blessed are the peacemakers. Those who know the Bible, they know. For they shall be called the sons of God. And all those Beatitudes and this, those who blessed are this. So we are now bringing that from the Holy Book and say the B attitude, not Beatitude now. The B attitude, the attitude that you must wear as HR in order to manage the workforce. So one of them is you should be aware or care to be able to capture hearts. Be aware to capture hearts. Be aware to care for hearts, and people will build the business. Those who will help you to build the business are the people within your system. So what do we need to do? This is what Zig Ziglar said. He said, you don't build a business. For you to succeed, build the people. Then the people will build the business. Because you are not there. Even if it is one man company, one branch, you can't be everywhere. You say, I started the business. Did you build it? Did it grow? You need to be able to manage the people because they will be the one to help you to build your business. So whether you are in public sector or in private sector, in public sector, we have what we call the key results area, key performance indicator. You need to be able to have a job schedule for people and say, these are your targets for the year, for the quarter, and everything. What do you need to do? Because you cannot do it alone. They will help you to get there. So, okay, how can you make? Let's quickly look at this. Burkina Faso is doing well. Okay. Okay, so yes, this is Burkina Faso that I was talking about earlier. So you need to manage the people and they will be able to manage the business for you. The B attitude, capture hearts, capture people, learn to recognize and focus on the needs of those around you. That's HR. Learn to recognize our own value and build your own self-esteem first because you cannot give what you don't have. Then help others recognize their value and self-esteem so that you see their little bits of what they bring on board will also help you to get there. Because when they develop and they do well, you also get part of the accolade. So commit to create a winning relationship, recognizing reward and excellence. Somebody mentioned it in one of the typings. Then care for your people, and they will care about the job, and they'll be able to stay because you care about them, you respect them. The high rate of retention will be very high within the system. So let's look at the right hand side of this to be able to care for the people, because where you are paid to produce results, the simple truth, it is your people who produce the results, not you. So focus your energy on helping your people to be what? To be successful. Because when they are successful, you are successful. So and that will give rise to, when you are a leader, look back, look around, and see who is following you. How many? Even when someone said the bootlickers are the ones following you, that means you are not getting the right people to tell you how well you're doing. They are sycophants. So you'll not be able to see the true picture, the big picture. So change your attitude. Have more of what you call positive mental attitude. That will make you to be successful on the job. So your attitude is very important. I believe the single most, this is talking about attitude, the most significant decision I can make on a daily basis is my choice of attitude. That means your attitude is not something that is like rigid. At a point in time, you can blow your top, is allowed. It is more important than my past, my education, my bankroll, my successes or failures, fames or pain, what other people think of me or say about me, my circumstances or my position. So your attitude will determine that. Attitude is that single string that keeps me going or cripples my progress. It alone fuels my fire or assaults my hope. When my attitudes are right, there's no barrier too high, no valley too deep, no dream too extreme, no challenge too great for me to encounter, and I'll be able to get there. When you look at this, the next slide, let me quickly see if there's anything that anybody wants to. Okay, before we go to the questions, let's see. You see, when you look at the attitude, is the red one, it affects job satisfaction, job involvement, job engagement, okay, and job organizational commitment. And at the end of it all, it will affect the organizational behavior. In those days, when you go to some blue chip companies, their noses are in the air like that. Even when you say good morning, some of them say, oh, morning, and whatever. So you need to. But nowadays, you see that people are being trained in the area of emotional management, in the area of corporate management, corporate governance, and how you relate. Your culture will show. No matter where you find yourself, please let our attitude be right. Or else people will look at you and think, what can we do to this organization? What can we do to the people in this place? Do we freeze them until you get a cure for their attitude? Maybe in the future, like they found cure for, is it cure? Or how to be able to reduce COVID that time. So until your attitude is right, they will freeze you. People will pack you aside because you are not the only one in the business. There are other people doing the same thing. So how do you now transform that negative attitude to positive mental attitude? First thing, that is emotional intelligence. And let's look at that. Part of emotional intelligence is what we call self-awareness and reflection. Identifying personal attitude and their impact on leadership. What are those tools that you need to use to assess yourself? Because when you look at some problems within some organization and you look in the mirror, the man in the mirror is the person that is affecting, that is the bottleneck, and it's also the bottle of the neck. So we need to look at that and see what we can do. So adopting a growth mindset, change your mindset, and you think that things will come on right for us. So that is why my great grand uncle Martin Luther King Jr. said, for you to have the right attitude, if a man is called to be a street sweeper, he should sweep streets, even as Michelangelo painted, or Beethoven composed music, or Shakespeare wrote poetry. So he should sweep streets so well that all the host of heaven and earth will pause to say, here lived a great sweet sweeper. who did his job well. So with a growth mindset, even if you now realize that the man in the mirror is the person causing the problem and the man in the mirror is you, please, let's change. Let's look at it. What can we do to be able to get there? Because when you accuse organizations or your boss of the problem, have you been able to study your boss? What have you done to be able to change the narrative? So what are those strategies for developing positive mental attitude in the workplace? 1, cultivate emotional intelligence, build resilience, that even if you make me feel that I'm not up to it, I will show you that if I fall one time, I'll get up twice. I will not let you, unless you have another job. If you work in a toxic environment and the work-life balance is not there, remember, people are suicidal now because of mental health. If you are not up to it, please get out. If you are not up to it and it's affecting your work-life balance and it's affecting your mental health, you have put in emotional intelligence, you have put everything, and you feel this environment is toxic, please move. Don't let them drive you to a point where you now be the odd one out. They say it's coming, everybody will keep quiet. HR is coming, nobody will talk. And you now say, is everything okay? Say yes. Mr. Spoil Joy, Mr. Killer of Joy. So it's very important. Can you shed light on how HR enhances ESG goals? What do you mean by ESG goal? Can you break that down for us? Then how can we make HR the most important unit in an organization? Knowing fully well the HR manager, the HR manages the most important aspect of the, yes, whatever value that you bring, let it be that during your time something changed. Make it be that during your time the value, people can point, people can say, when some other people were there, we did not get this, we got that, and all those things. It's very important. Top management, very important that please do something that people will always refer to. The top management decides which department they want to be the most important department in the organization. However, every department is very vital to the organization survival. Thank you for replying this. How can we make HR? You can't work alone. There's what we call cross-functional activity. Okay, materials will be shared. Okay, so what ESG? Can you break that down for us? Okay, Dapo, break that down and we'll answer your question. So what we need to do is that building resilience in the workplace. If I fall one time, I get up 2 times because while I'm down there, I'm thinking of what do I need to do. Getting up is one thing. What I'm going to do when I get up is the second. So that's your second leap. So it's very important. So we need to use emotional intelligence and get there. Your capacity to recognize your own feelings and those the feelings of others in order to motivate them and managing emotions in yourself as well as others. So you need to ensure. I'm sure most of us remember the debate between Donald Trump and Kamala. You know, at a point in time, Kamala was taunting Trump. Any small thing will flare up. Even as at now, any small thing, they will abuse your great grandfather that died long time ago and your generations on board. So, but because a society or a country determines the type of leadership they get. Okay, economy, society, and governance. Okay, so let's see what your question is all about. Burkina Faso. How can you share on how the HR enhances economy? Okay, you see, whatever it is in your own corner, your organization will affect the economy of the country or the environment. That is why some organizations have, I'm wrapping that with the society now, have what we call the CSR. Okay, when they have the CSR, whatever they put in place will affect the economy of the immediate environment. There is this circle that we call the concentric circle. It comes from the individual to the department, to the organization, then to the outside world, or you want to take it from there. But one thing is that the let's see it now, the economy of an environment or the society that you move with will be revealed by what the organizational the organization has in place for that environment. Let's take the example of the Ogoni and the Shell people. You know, Shell came in order to improve whatever or get the oil from wherever, but they did not take care of the environment because of their corporate governance. Until later, they were brought out to the open and they now started doing some of those things. But for whatever it is, HR is part of the organization. They should relate with the workforce, and part of the workforce is from the immediate environment, immediate society. So these are some of the ways, little bits and pieces that HR can put together in order to affect and make influence on the economy of the immediate environment, and eventually it will transcend beyond that organization. You see what eventually happened to Shell? Their matter got to the international uh, criminal courts in Hague, and they were sanctioned. So whatever it is, if their HR had been able to do something and see what others are doing, we'll be able to get there. We'll not have too much. We still have issues because we are dealing with human beings. We have issues, but we'll be able to manage the issues well. So let's quickly look at. Thank you for that. So let's look at how attitudes are developed. Let's look at it. Years ago, Paul Harvey described how Eskimos in the frozen northern poles kills wolves. They take a razor-sharp knife, dip it in blood, and freeze it. Next, they bury the handle of the knife in the frozen tundra with the blade sticking up. Wolves attracted to the scent and sight of the blood. The coldness from the blood-stained frozen blade numbs the wolf's tongue, and by the time he, the wolf, reaches the blade, he is unaware he's licking a sharp edge and then begins to bleed. As he begins to bleed, he leaks even faster until ultimately he bleeds to death. In many ways, this story describes the way people are lured into the bad trap of bad behaviors, absenteeism, complaining, lying, misuse of office time and resources. At the early stage, such a worker feels good. When he becomes neck deep into the bad habits, he or she begins to lose sense of direction, purpose, and reasoning. This may lead such a person to indulge in stronger and more potent vices until they are permanently hooked and eventually thrown out of the job. Interestingly enough, the wolf and the person with the bad habit have another trait in common, each to give little or nothing for a huge reward. This is impossible. The proportion of what you sow determines the size of what you will harvest. This is what we call the killer attitude, because the more they indulge in such, the more they get uh, satisfied. Oh, that I'm getting well, okay, that I'm getting well, and I'll be able to get away with it. And the more you do this, until the person is exposed, you will not be able to go away from you. You see others as they are not smart enough, but it's not it. We should be able to manage this well. So let's quickly look at emotional intelligence. It's a big topic, and it's also, you can also look at social intelligence, but emotional intelligence, when I came across it some years back, and since that time I now know that you can't get under my skin unless I want you to. Before you see me blow my top and do what, it will take a while. It's not that I don't get annoyed. That's the story of one man in his tie and in his suit. One day he carried his 4x4 to go and buy fuel in the filling station, and he got there during scarcity period in Nigeria, drove his 4x4, and he was about to enter his car after filling his tank. And there comes this downfall yellow bus, block the man. Say, "Oga, get out of there now. Maybe you don't buy petrol, move." The man just came down and said, "My friend, will you move your car? Do you know who I am? You know what we do in Nigeria? Do you know who I am?" The conductor came down from the car and said, "Oga, now my Oga you they talk to like that too." He said, "Will you please move your car?" He said, "Oga, no talk to my Oga like that too." And the man, because he was emotionally intelligent, what did he do? He just entered this car and said, "God save you today that I'm not in my bad mood." Because he realized that he who's on the floor fears no fall. Downfall conductor, they don't wear clothes, they wear singlet, so that when they tear it, when they get to the next bus stop, they buy another. So what do we do? This guy just went out his car. Instead of him to move forward, he just reversed his car and moved and said, just be careful yourself. Next time, you will not go easy like that, because he looked at the man and said, if they find me fighting this man now and he does something, executive now, we don't have too much strength, and they get you knocked on the floor, something happens, then who would you explain it to, that you're fighting a downfall conductor? So emotional intelligence is that don't let people get under your skin. Don't allow them. You should be a jump ahead of them and say, when the scales are down, will I say, had I known? And that is what emotional intelligence is saying. Don't give room for that to happen, to say, oh, had I known? Because you'll have thought ahead and say, I will be able to do this. I won't be able to do that. So emotional intelligence is not that you are MU, but you give room for some of those things. You need to know yourself. You need to make good decision, communicate well, and be able to get there. So it's very important that the man use scope to run away. Thank you. Yes, Toby. So we need to be able to make judgment and say what will happen. So the workplace must be a place of high quality relationship. So we should not be seen that we are not doing that, because relationship, networking, collaboration rule the world. And we as HR, that is why HR is very important in the workplace. So before we end, we need to be able to get this into play. Okay, EI is very important. Thank you, Toby. Okay, so before we end, let's look at what we need to do as HR. What are those things that we need to bring to bear and bring to the front burner to get things done? So the first thing first, invest in people. Take a deep look at your leadership style and how your associates perceive you. What flaws can you identify in yourself, associates, especially working relationship with your people? Because people judge you by your action, not by intention. Life is a lesson in forgiveness, and to forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover the prisoner was you in the first place. So when you say gossip and all those things, all those negativity, people are looking, and you need to be able to manage the situation well. To get ahead in life, build a bridge and not a wall. Don't end up like concrete, all mixed up and set. So what do? Strive for positive change, for change is the only thing constant. So look at your relationship. Okay, interpersonal relationship is very important. So don't box yourself to a corner. Emotional intelligence says before you start anything, how would you finish it? How would it end? So mankind is what a tri-dimensional being: physical, mental, emotional, and times it's called spiritual. The answer to being better than everyone else lies in evaluating yourself. Because you need to know yourself. Okay, this area affects how we manage pressure or stress. Then we need to be able to say, I have taken a shot of attitude vaccine, so that you will now know what to do when you get trust that has been betrayed or whatever in the workplace. Then add discipline, integrity, and you get there. So know what you should do all the time. So in conclusion, that is why my cousin, the first black man in the White House, said people should trust you. They should have faith in you. They should believe in you. So in all what you have been saying, we should not assert ourselves overtly, or people will not get to understand what we want to do. Then we should also remember that in our lust for to be good good HR, remember, people are always there to help us achieve. Okay, thank you. People are always there to help us achieve. Then the critical role of attitude in changing or shaping our leadership style. Practical step of some of our leaders in the system, whether in public sector or in private sector, we need to be able to manage ourselves and manage the people that we are leading. If not, we will not get there. So let's quickly look at this. Let's look at this that I call the next CEO. The next CEO will give us let's see, I'll take your questions, but let's take this out first. Then we will see the next CEO and we will get there. So before we finish, we are taking before I take your questions, we have about 3 minutes to go. But let me quickly take the next CEO. Then we take 1 or 2 questions. A successful businessman was growing old and he knew it was time to choose a successor to take over the business. That is leadership. Instead of choosing one of his directors or his children, he decided to do something different. He called all the young executives in his company together, and what did he do? He said, "Today, I'm going to choose my next CEO. I've decided to choose one of you." The young executives were shocked, but the boss continued. He said, I am going to give each one of you a seat today. Let's see. A seed today, one very special seed. I want you to plant the seed, water it, and come back here 1 year from today with what you have grown from the seed I have given you. So what happened? Those are the seeds. Then I will then judge the plants that you bring, and the one I choose will be the next CEO. One man named Jim was there that day, and he, like the others, received the seed. He went home excitedly, told his wife the story. She helped him get a pot, soil, and compost, and he planted the seed. Okay, every day he will water it and watch to see if it had grown. After about 3 weeks, some of the executives began to talk about their seeds and the plants they were beginning to grow. Jim kept checking his seed, but nothing ever grew. 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks went by, still nothing. By now, others were talking about their plant, but Jim didn't have a plant, and he knew if he felt like a failure. 6 months went by, still nothing in Jim's pot. He just knew he had killed his seed. Everyone else had trees, tall plants, and he had nothing. Jim didn't say anything to his colleagues. However, he just kept watering and fertilizing the soil. So he wanted the seed to grow. A year finally went by, and all the young executives of the company brought their plans to the CEO for inspection. Jim told his wife that he wasn't going to take any empty pot, but she asked him to be honest about what happened. Jim felt sick to his stomach. It was going to be the most embarrassing moment of his life, but he knew his wife was right. He took his empty pot to the boardroom. And see what happened. When Jim arrived, he was amazed by the variety of plants grown by the other executives. They were beautiful in all shapes and sizes. Jim put his empty pot on the floor, and many of his colleagues laughed. A few felt sorry for him. When the CEO arrived, he surveyed the room and greeted the young executive. Jim tried to hide at the back. See what happened? Yep. My, what great plants, trees, and flowers you have grown, said the CEO. Today, one of you will be appointed the next CEO. All of a sudden, the CEO spotted Jim at the back of the room with his empty pot. He ordered the financial director to bring him to the front. Jim was terrified. He thought the CEO knows I am a failure. Maybe you have me fired. When Jim got to the front, the CEO asked him what had happened to his seat. Jim told him the story. CEO asked everyone to sit down except Jim. He looked at Jim and then announced to the young executive, "Behold, your next chief executive officer. His name is Jim." Jim couldn't believe it. Jim couldn't even grow his seat. How could he be the new CEO? Others said. The CEO said that to everyone in the room, said that to everyone in this room, "I told you to take a seed, plant it, water it, and bring it back to me today. But I gave you a boiled seed. They were dead. It was impossible for them to grow. All of you, except Jim, brought me trees, plants, and flowers. When you found that the seed would not grow, you substituted another seed for the one I gave you. Jim was the only one with the courage and honesty to bring me a pot with my seed in it. Therefore, He's the one who will be the new chief executive officer. What's the moral of this story? If you plant honesty, you will reap trust. If you plant goodness, you will reap friends. If you plant humility, you will reap greatness. If you plant perseverance, you will reap contentment. If you plant consideration, you will reap perspective. If you plant hard work, you will reap success. If you plant forgiveness, you will reap reconciliation. So be careful what you plant now. It will determine what you reap later. Whatever you give to life, life gives back to you. Live your core values and reap the returns. So that brings us to the end of our discussion tonight. And as I said earlier, we need to manage relationship. We need to manage relationship and we get there. So let's quickly round up because that is planting good seeds. Honesty, food for thought. Thank you so much. Honesty is part of it. Integrity is part of it as leaders of any organization that we manage. Tomorrow we will get our questions because tomorrow will be daytime. I'll be able to talk for long. So thank you so much. I want to rest my case here and we'll talk more tomorrow. So thank you for listening and let me see the questions that we have. Our what do you call it? Our coordinator tomorrow. Thank you, madam. Okay, integrity, honesty. Okay, thank you very much. Our coordinator, national coordinator, will talk to us now. So, coordinator, are you there? Madam Tessie. Okay, if she's not there, we would. If she's not there, we will now close. Tomorrow we will continue with questions. So please keep your questions and we'll be able to get you tomorrow. Thank you so much for listening. If I have not answered your question, just keep it in the parking bay. We'll be glad to answer them tomorrow. Okay. Thank you and have a blessed evening. So thank you so much. See you tomorrow by God's grace. Okay, Madam Tessie is not here. No questions. So, thank you and God bless us all. I'll stop sharing my screen now and we exit. Thank you. And we exit the program. Okay, thank you, the technical crew. Thank you, Bright. See you tomorrow.